So I know I don't talk about the anime much on here. I usually talk about the manga a lot, but we wanted to talk about the anime for a bit here because the newest episode came out, and it changed my opinion on a lot of stuff with Wano. To be honest, especially when it comes to Toby Ropo, but we'll get onto that in a minute, right? Um, let's start with the animation, right? Because we're gonna speak on how good Wano is being right now, like constantly whenever it gets to big moments it's kicking up the action to like a 10 out of 10 all the fucking time. And that gets me really excited for chapters like chapter 1000 or chapter 1010, like when they get to those episodes. Or hell, even chapter 984 when Yamato's introduced. I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's 984, right? Actually, I think they're behind on chapters. I thought they were literally right on where the manga was in terms of chapters. Like, as in, this is episode 982. I thought they were on like 982, but I think they're like a chapter or two behind. So they'll either catch up or we'll get Yamato in a like more so than like 3 weeks, more than 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. But I'm really looking forward to that episode because honestly, this was a stellar episode. They started off with the Straw Hats taking over the port, and I have to say one thing. I have to say real quick. I was looking at the manga chapter just before I started this, just to get a point of comparison. I know everyone gives out about different ways that the anime extends the manga, but I have to be real. In this particular case, and in a lot of cases during Wano, I have to say, and Whole Cake as well, I'd say, they've extended the manga, or they've extended the manga in anime form in such a way that I've really appreciated. Like, it's not taken away, it's more so adding to the actual show. Just kind of showing how great Luffy and his crew are and how they deserve to be considered a Yonko crew. Like, just kind of the amazing way they operate and how much trust they have, and kind of the carefree attitude, like going into a full scale war. Like, imagine if Marineford happened at this point. These lot would be going in like drinking fucking alcohol. Luffy would probably throw the fucking Luffy would probably throw the fucking beer at like Ace's execution stand and be like, "Drink up there, Ace will be here to pick you up in a second." Like the difference in how this is going compared to Marineford and how they're acting is so it's so stellar and shows how much Luffy especially has improved as a leader to keep everyone in check and to make sure he is the focus of a battlefield amongst these big names such as Law, Kid, and the Nine Red Scabbards. It's honestly pretty amazing for Luffy, I have to say myself. But like another thing on top of this episode had like a really stellar Queen section, and I have to say that was really well animated. But it also gave us a bit more of Pooh, which we don't see very much, and he's going to show up in later episodes there. So it'd be good. It's good to get a tiny bit more of him. To be perfectly honest, I mean I hate Apu. I don't like him very much, but hey, any more development is good development, right? And and I'd like to point out actually, just around this time we get our first view of Yamato. So the anime is now gone from a 10 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10. Greatest fucking show of all time, just by that appearance. Also, it was really good to see that actually. I'm really looking forward to how they introduce her and what her voice actor is. I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe they give them Odin's voice actor. Imagine that, just to kind of throw home the kind of I am Odin thing. They give her his voice actor. That would be funny as all hell. I'd be dying laughing. I wouldn't even be bothered by that, to be honest. But one thing I must say about, especially like, this is the first arc I'm reading. Kind of. I went back to read it, but I've always watched the anime up until I caught up to Wano. Actually, that's not true. I started reading once I got to like Act 2 because I was like, I really want to catch up to this. And I think I had stuff planned and I was like, there's no way I'm going to catch up with the anime. So I was like, I'll read the manga. So I read since Act 2, I think. But I must say, and I have to be real straight out here, I still haven't decided which I prefer because the manga has its peaks and I really like how the manga definitely is a 10 out of 10 and it does stuff so well and I love it for that, right? But I just haven't decided myself really like what do I prefer in this format. Like each time I think maybe the manga's edged the anime out, it comes out with a fucking banger episode. And I must say, in terms of going back to the anime's points, music is always a big thing for me. That's one thing if they had it in manga, which they cannot have, would probably increase me to never watch an anime ever again. because music to me is such an important part of a medium. Like, I'm not a big individual music guy. I do listen to my fair share of artists, but I'm more of a podcast guy than a music guy. I do listen to a lot of music. But when it comes to soundtrack music, damn, you got me. I love that shit. Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack, Xenoblade 2 soundtrack, fucking Naruto soundtrack. No matter what bad that anime did, that soundtrack was an absolute banger. And honestly, I have to say, with the how One Piece is going right now, I love Luffy's fierce attack. I love Overtaken, I think it is. I love Very Very Strongest. All that shit. I love that shit, and obviously the Diablo Jambe theme song. I can't do it. I'm not a very pristine jazz singer myself, if you couldn't tell. But I do love those fucking songs. They're absolutely stellar music. And the anime does a very good job with that, especially with music themed characters like Apu and Queen. Like, I think that elevates their characters that you will not be able to get from the manga. And there's a lot to say about the anime, which I won't say right now because I do want to actually talk about this individually later on. But I feel like that's something that you have to understand. Like, that is really good. And even now, I'm going to move on to the Toby Roppo here real quick. I didn't really care for the Toby Roppo too much. Particularly, like, up until, like, last chapter with that cover story, I didn't really care too much for page 1 in particular. I liked Ulti because she kind of stood with the big mom and I was like, that's fucking fierce, man. But honestly, up until the last cover story, which I thought was incredibly cute and really endeared me to those two characters, I wasn't really too fond on them. But that's something an anime can do, can change it compared to the manga. It can really make you affectionate for a character based on their voice, their moveset, and the theme that accompanies them. I think I wasn't the biggest fan of a lot of the Toby Roppo up until this episode because this episode really conveyed their personalities a lot more than the manga did, just because of the ability of animation, especially with Ulti in page 1 and Black Maria. I mean, I like Sasuke a lot with his new thing because he comes across a lot more. I wouldn't say a lot more, but a bit more playful, and I think it works with his kind of drinking partner of, was it Denjiro kind of attitude, and I think it comes across more in the anime. And obviously Black Maria came across as a lot better in the anime as well. Same with Ulti and Pepe, but that's the main focus of what I'm talking about here. The anime definitely does convey these characters much better than the manga, and that's not the manga's fault, right? The manga doesn't have music or animation or even color to kind of convey that, and because they're side characters, they don't get enough coverage to make up for that. You know what I mean? To me personally, obviously you might disagree, but I just did not really care for the Toby Roppo very much. I do now because of the anime episode, and it was good timing too because we just got the fight, especially with Who's Who. Although we didn't see him much besides a few times where he was kind of trying to be like the disheartened uncle who's like, oh, shut up, mate. You're like, fuck off. I'm trying to drink here, man. Kind of that type of thing, you know what I mean? And I mean, that does kind of convey more of how he's acting in recent chapters, although I'd love to see the Jinbei Who's Who stuff. Probably not until this time next year at this point, which is crazy, man. That's crazy to me. But I really enjoyed it. Particularly Pepe, look at me talking like fucking Ulti. But Ulti and Page 1's fucking voice actors in this especially. I know we've heard Page 1 before, but I didn't really remember it too well. But combined with Ulti's voice actor was very well done. I really enjoyed them. Now this is a big thing with the anime. I love Luffy's voice actor, and let's not go on to that number 1 single we got in this episode, man. Breaking the charts already, the Luffy was with that fucking singing, my guy. Stellar shit. Stellar fucking shit, man. It was just an amazing episode with a lot of amazing things to it, and I feel I will talk about it later, but I want to talk more about the anime. And I know it has its issues, but I have to say now, if you're a One Piece binger or a One Piece watcher, as long as you get a filler guide, I'm telling you now, the One Piece anime is the way to go. It has everything the manga has, but with music and animated fights. I do understand reading the manga because the manga is still an 11 out of 10. And there are some problems with the anime, like such as a lot of Thriller Bark was a bit dodgy in the animation department. people say Dressrosa, but I'm gonna be real with you. I only noticed like 3 animation problems for me in Dressrosa. Now I have to be real. I kind of, because I was binging Dressrosa, maybe I didn't see it as much because I wasn't paying attention to individual episodes as much as I was to the overall plot because I was binging it in one go. I binged that in like 3 days because I was still in hospital when I was watching it, so I binged that in like 3 days. And I noticed the leg thing, like you know, when that guy with the blue hair, he does his leg, and then I noticed what was the other one? I know there was like 3 of them, but I just can't remember what they were. Uh, hmm. I think people point out a particular scene with Robin, but I didn't notice that myself. Oh, actually, there was more than that. A lot of Rebecca's scenes, actually, specifically. Rebecca was badly done in the anime, I will admit, in terms of how she was portrayed camera wise. I didn't like her in the manga either when I reread that. I just don't like Rebecca's character design very much. To be perfectly honest, it could have been done way more tastefully and served the story way better because her backstory. That's getting. Never mind. You know what? No, I'll save that for another day. But Dressrosa and Thriller Bark aside, and even at that, I'd say Dressrosa is good. It's just it has like 2 problems that I mainly with camera shots more than actual, more like camera perspective problems. But I would tell you the anime is stellar. But anyway, and as this chapter or as this episode also shown, Luffy's amazing voice actor, like that really hooked me on the series, I have to admit. Like I wouldn't be hooked on the series as much as I was today if it wasn't for Luffy's voice actor, because I wasn't feeling the first like 23 episodes until Baratier. Luffy's voice really just kept me in it, and Luffy's character, and I have to admit, like that was fucking stellar. That's why I'll never really diss the anime so much, because Luffy's voice was so. Alright, I'm getting way too deep into this for a talk about a chapter or an episode, sorry. But stellar episode, fucking killer episode, love it. Care much more about the Toby Ropo, and we got our first view of best character in all of One Piece. Nah, joking. But best crewmate, if that's a title, I don't know if it is. But hey, Yopsi Yamato, and goodbye.